Got it. Yeah. Ooh, jetpack. We're gonna see. We might make it though. We might make it though. Oh, I stuck him. I think I stuck him. I stuck him. Fuck! I got hit again. All right, man. Welcome back to the Now What podcast. I am your host, Arian Foster, and welcome back to round 2. So I have a special guest in the building again, man. Necole Kane, formerly known as, I hope you don't mind me saying it.
That's fine.
Formerly known as Nicole Bitchie. So we had done a podcast, and my dumb ass, I didn't press record on the camera, so I had the audio but not the video. And you know, as we start, as we growing on this podcast, I like to have the whole package. So my mistake, but you were generous enough to come back for some reason.
Yeah, you know, it'll be better the second time around.
For sure. I when I asked, I was like, you know, she said, no, I'm cool with it, man.
No, he asked immediately. Like, it was like a hour afterwards.
Yeah, you left, and I was like, I cannot believe. You know, it's a testament to how good the conversation was, though, because we sat down and started chopping it up, and I forgot to
immediately.
Get up. And so now all the cameras are rolling, and we are good to go. Wait, is that red light on? I mean, don't you?
Yeah, red lights on. I see red lights everywhere.
Perfect. We're good to go. All right, man. So Necole Kane, you are a fascinating story to me, and I'm not going to butcher your story. I'm going to let you tell it because it's extremely powerful and inspiring. So if you could give us a little bit of your background, what you were known for and what you are now transitioning into, and I guess we can get into the journey of it as the conversation flows.
Well, yeah, a lot of people came to know me as Nicole Bitchie, a gossip blogger. It's funny. I'm telling this story real quick before I get into it, because I was in the studio last time and you had Joe Budden in here.
I did.
And you see how their reactions change before they find out. So Joe was in here and I asked, I was like, oh, I'm going to have a fan moment. Let me ask you for a picture. And he's like, you only get one.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, do you know who I am? And I never do the you know who I am thing, because It's not like that.
All right.
And he goes, no. And I go, Nicole Bitchie. And then his reaction went from treat me like a off the street fan that just wanted a picture to, like, bear a hug.
Whole demeanor changed. Shout out to Joe. He's a real one. But his whole demeanor changed when you told him who you was.
I was like, dang, that's how people getting treated out here in these streets.
Yeah, I mean, well, you could look at it two ways. Either, that's how people get treated, or that's how the reaction is when people know who it is because of your pedigree and what you did.
Yeah, and I do feel like I did, I had integrity with what I did as a gossip blogger for 7 or 8 years. Gained a lot of respect from people. So that I could look at it that way too, but It was kind of funny. But yeah, going back to my story, people know of me as Nicole Bitchie. I started a celebrity gossip site 2007 going into 2008, and I was living in my aunt's guest room at the time, and just kind of passing time away. The reason why I had started the site was because I had sent my resume to all these people when I lived in New York. Diddy, Tyra Banks, etc. I wanted to be anybody's assistant. I just wanted a chance in the music industry, and I couldn't get a job, and I ran out of money. And I remember at the time saying, I'm never going to send out another resume, because you get so much rejection. It's
demoralizing.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm never sending out another resume. If people want me, they're going to have to find me. And I will say, I said this in 2008, and I have never sent out another resume since then. So
Godspeed on that
I'll
journey.
tell you the power of your words.
That's real.
I have not had to send out another resume. I've gotten jobs after jobs and opportunities after opportunities. So thank you, Jesus. But yeah, so I started the celebrity gossip site while living in my aunt's guest room. A month into it, she's like, "You're playing on the internet. You gotta go. You don't want to find a job." I'm in a small town at the time.
It's kind of a short amount to be like, hey, you need to get your shit together and get out.
Yeah, well,
1 month.
I think she's thinking, all right, girl, you're 27 at the time.
Right.
I was 27, and you're just sitting in my guest room playing on the internet. I haven't even seen you attempt to like get a job. But yeah, it was the best thing she could have ever did for me, because I packed up my computer, my little website that I had started and didn't really have a following. And I went down to Atlanta where I slept on a few couches. And when I got to Atlanta, I paid like $500 to a publicist, because I was like, you got the link to the scene I need to be on.
How did you know that though?
Well, I think I had told a mutual friend that I was coming out to Atlanta. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get on the scene and like meet celebrities and go to these parties and all this. And they were like, I know a publicist, but she might cost you. And I ain't got no money. I'm broke. But I was like, let me at least meet with her. And I told her I had this website and like it was growing and popping. And at the time, it looked like I had a lot of comments under like each post. Like it looked like it was like 100 comments under each post. So I looked like I was popping when really it was like 3 people like talking to each other all day long under the post.
That's nice though.
Right. So, she go to my little site and she see like hundreds of comments and thinking like it's popping. I'm probably getting like, 900 page views a day, if that.
I mean, that's still impressive from doing it out of your auntie's basement.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Right. So from there, she took me out on the scene, took me to parties and stuff. And when I would get home, I would connect with the photographers at the parties and say, hey, can you send me your pictures? And then I'd write about this event. So they would get, they felt like they were getting pressed because their logo was on the picture. The promoter felt like they were getting pressed because I'm telling everybody about this hot party and who was there. And so that's how I started growing in Atlanta. And that's how the blog kind of took off.
And so for people that don't know, like, how big did this blog get?
At the height, when I closed it down, it was getting about 20 million page views a month.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's insanity.
Yeah. It just kind of like took off without me even. I woke up one day, and I would see the site mentioned on like television.
Right.
Or I just could have never imagined like where it went.
Right. I mean, I couldn't imagine. I hope to get 20 million.
You will. You'll have 20 million subscribers on YouTube.
I don't know if I want that many subscribers on YouTube.
I know, because it comes with a lot.
It does come with a lot. Like, and that's why I kind of pride myself now on the content that I put out is extremely organic, and I'm very cognizant of not putting forth clickbait out, because along with that comes like drama and
crazy energy.
Yeah, and so I just want to create good content, and so I can go to sleep at night knowing I'm doing my small little part in changing the conversation in society today, because there's a lot going on and there's a lot of good conversations to be had. So I just want to be able to say that I'm doing my part. So 20 million plus views. You've created this name, you've created this brand, and you've developed a name for yourself that is, synonymous with like the Wendy Williams and the, like the big talking heads in our culture. And then all of a sudden you're just like, nope, packing it up, we out of here.
Yeah.
Explain the transition,
pivot. Definitely. First of all, I just felt like the name Nicole Bitchie kind of preceded, I guess, the word I'm going to use, who I was. And so people had this perception of me before meeting me. And I didn't like that.
Right.
Because totally different than this name that just had a ring to it, and it was a spinoff of Nicole Richie. Remember, there was Perez Hilton and Paris Hilton. So that's where the Nicole Bitchie came from.
Gotcha.
Nicole Richie and Paris Hilton had a show at the time called The Simple Life. So that's where the name came from. And at the time when I thought of it, I just thought it was clever. It would be catchy. People would want to know more.
I didn't even put. I mean, it could just be my my slowness, but I didn't even put like the bitchy part. It was. I didn't think of it like in a negative connotation. It was just like that's a cool little name. I didn't even think of it like bitchy.
Oh,
like,
right.
I just thought of it like that's a cool little name. Like it just never hit
Had
me.
a
like
little
that.
ring to it.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, I had because I'm not like a huge like gossip column.
Right.
Like you know what I'm saying. So that kind of probably played a part in it too. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
But yeah, if somebody say that name to you, you're like, what? What is that? Like,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
trying to figure it out.
Exactly.
And it didn't help. Like, well, it helped. Not didn't, but it helped that when you logged into my website, the header banner was a picture of me coming out of a computer screen, kind of like almost like I was choking the real me. So there's this diva-ish makeup, whatever, girl coming out the computer, choking like this nerdy girl with glasses on. That's the real me.
Right.
So that I think that played into branding a lot.
What was the metaphor behind that branding?
Exactly that like I'm this shy small town girl, and then Nicole Bitchie is this internet persona, that's like almost swallowing me up type thing. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of eerie foreshadowing.
I know. And I put that banner up in 2009, and I kept it up the entire duration of my website thing. But yeah, just the energy. I mean, the energy that comes with negative news, and just having to cover like everything from like who's breaking up with who's cheating on who, even the social injustices, and every other week, a black man getting killed or whatever, and have like people don't understand when you're media, you have to intake news differently than the average person. Like average person can read a headline and see commentary, and they don't have to. They can scroll past it, take it in, but that's it. But we have to know the facts.
Right.
So you got to read 1,000 articles to get the facts, and you can just imagine like what that does to your spirit. I mean, I know what it does to people, like regular people, just seeing that all the time.
Right. I mean, did it start to kind of like desensitize you, or was it just too much to handle after a while?
It was too much. Like, it was negatively affecting my life. I think I mentioned this to you before you were like, but I went to a therapist at one time, and she told me I had secondhand PTSD. Is that what it is?
Right. Yeah, PTSD.
PTSD. And I was like, what?
Yeah, I had never heard. We talked about this on a previous, so please enlighten us, because I had never heard of secondhand
PTSD is when you experience like trauma from an event that you read about, hear about, etc. You weren't directly involved, but it affected you in some type of way. And I think even growing up in a hood or whatever, like we experienced PTSD and not even know it, but to have to experience that from what you see on social media because you're taking in so much negativity, that's crazy to me.
I mean, I think I'm directly being affected in that way right now, actually. Because being retired is the greatest thing on earth, but it's one of the worst things on earth too. It's a hard, and I know people are like, shut up, but it's a thing that's like, if you're not ready and mentally able to handle free time,
right,
it could drive you crazy,
right?
And so one of the things that obviously I'm in love with, politics and history and science and all these things and all these national conversations. And so I'm kind of entrenched in them. I got engulfed in them, and it got really heavy for me, where I was really reading a lot of stuff, watching a lot of stuff, and to the point where it was affecting my sleep cycle. It was affecting everything. And not too long ago, I actually posted about this on Instagram, and a lot of people related to it, was that I got an anxiety attack.
Oh, wow.
And I never felt anxiety before Number one, because I'm really easygoing. I don't care about much. But like I'm really easygoing cat. I laugh all the time. I joke about everything. Nothing is serious to me. But it came on all of a sudden, and just for the people out there who can relate, like to describe it, and for people that don't relate, like trust me, like I used to think people used to tell me like I had an anxiety attack. I'm like, if you don't like man up, like shit.
But what were the like? What you were home and
So
looking at something?
Yeah, so I was at the house and I was just hanging out with my lady and everything was a regular day. And all of a sudden, I started to feel like this, like I couldn't breathe. So I was like trying to take deep breaths, and I was like, okay, I'm good. I just got to breathe deep. And all of a sudden, it started getting worse, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. And so I tried to take deeper breaths, and you start to work yourself up in a panic.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, like my heart started beating out of my chest. So in my head, I'm like, oh, this is a heart attack. I'm having a heart attack. And what made it, and I'm pacing. I'm trying to control my breathing, remembering all my breathing techniques. And my lady's like, are you okay? I'm like, I think I'm good. Let me just sit down. And as I'm sitting down, I'm starting to breathe deep, and my heart is like, you can hear it. Like I can hear it anyway. Like it was just I couldn't, man. I don't wish that on anybody, except for a couple people. And and finally I got to the point where I was like, nah, call somebody. Like I feel like I'm gonna die. Like I thought I was gonna die. So like while the ambulance was coming, and luckily they were like it only took them like 5 minutes to get there because we live close by one. It took them like 5 minutes, but it felt like an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm trying to control my breath, hearing my heartbeat out of my chest, my limbs start locking up. It gets stiff to the point I'm like paralyzed. I can't move it, and my legs and my hands are just stiff. And I'm like, oh shit! And then my jaw started stiffening up, and so I'm like, I'm gonna die. So like I'm mentally in my head, I'm like, oh well, this is it. Like I'm having these conversations with myself, like, man, I'm gonna miss my daughter. I'm gonna miss my son. I'm like, this is it. Like I'm gonna die. And that was a weird feeling. I've never been close to death. I don't even know if I was close to death, but thinking I was close to death. And when they got there, just having them there like kind of eased a lot of the symptoms. And I remember the EMT, he took my blood pressure, and he's like, they got there, just calm down, we're here to help you out. He took my blood pressure and he goes, hey man, your blood pressure's better than mine.
Hilarious.
Yeah, that shit made me laugh, man. So that helped ease
right.
the tension a lot. And they sat there with me for like 10 minutes, and like, we feel good that it's not anything cardiovascular. They took my EKG, blood pressure, all that stuff, and they're like, we don't feel like it's anything cardiovascular related. It's like, we'll take you to the hospital, we'll stay here longer, like whatever you want to do, but we feel like you just had an anxiety attack. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
Anxiety attack? Yeah. So I was like, it changed my perspective on when people say that, and I don't want to get too long-winded here, but it's important. But it's like, it changed my perspective on when people say that to me, but it also changed my perspective on how I digest this stuff. Mm-hmm. How that the social media has penetrated the fabric of our lives, and I didn't have any filter process. Like I was, I'm doing a lot with this podcast. I'm doing a lot, but like a lot of my free time wasn't in like books. It was in like the national conversations, and It was in people's opinions, and I didn't know how to like I didn't actively pursue any ways to filter this stuff. And so like it really affected me to the point where it was like, so I advise anybody as the first and foremost, like if you like having anxiety and stress, and like take care of that shit. Like I went to go see a therapist again, because I was an advocate for it before, but now it was like I've never had it affect me personally like that. So but anyway, as you're telling me,
I told you, I don't take my phone in my bedroom.
Right.
When it's time to go to sleep, I have an alarm clock.
Right.
Just so that I'm not like, because then you'll be in bed scrolling social media, or as soon as you wake up, that's the first thing you'll do is plug in like I have a whole 12-step process morning ritual I go through.
Let's explain it, because I think I need to do it now.
I don't know if I can think of all 12 of the.
We talked before this happened.
We talked, and he was looking at me with the side eye.
Well, he's like, I was.
Now he's like, man, let me tell you, I'm about to be on the self-care. It's the self-care.
it's important, man. So like, what is kind of the process that you go through?
Definitely when I wake up, definitely got to pray, and just I cook breakfast. I eat. Drink water. I run. because when I'm running, what happens is, well, I'm kind of athlete. I do bodybuilding for anyone that doesn't know. But when I'm running, it's not about the run for me. I'm listening to either a motivational podcast. I listen to these guys named Eric Thomas, Les Brown, Billy Alsbrook on YouTube. And, they're talking about being champions and all this positive stuff. So you're starting your morning running while listening to this in your ear for 30 minutes because I'm on the treadmill for 30 minutes every morning. Right. Like, there's no way I can have a bad day after listening to that, you know? So I'll go back upstairs, like, ready to go. Like, what's up?
Conquer the world.
Yeah, and that's when I do, the eat, the drink. I set my intentions, and what that means is in a journal, I write down how I want my day to go. So even if I have a meeting, if I have an interview, I want that interview to be amazing. I want it to be even better than it was before it became the Lost Files.
Right. I'm with you.
Yeah. So I started writing down my intentions last year, actually, because I was going through depression at the time. I have a new brand that we haven't talked about called xoNecole.com, and it's a women empowerment and lifestyle site. And I started that site 2 months after I closed my celebrity gossip site in July 2015. So I just came up on a 3-year anniversary of having, actually leaving my old brand and how that felt. So I started this new site, and I'm running out of money fast because I'm paying staff out of my pocket. And it kind of got me in oh my God, I'm failing in front of the whole world. I just put this letter on the website, told the whole world that I'm moving on because I want to do something purposeful and intentional. And then I start a site and I'm running out of money, and I'm thinking to myself every day, when am I going to go back to sleep on my aunt's couch for this dream that I started? So yeah, I was kind of spiraling, and I think I did a video in September 2016, a year after I started that website. Just I'm very transparent, right. So I'm on the video. I'm telling everybody how I started this new brand, and I feel I'm running out of money, and I'm just being honest about my situation. A lot of people don't do that. They tell you after they pulled out the pull.
It's real. It's real.
So, I upload this video to YouTube, and I didn't think anything of it. And then 2 days later, it goes viral. And I'm looking at the headlines, and the headlines are about how my life is a hot mess. Essence headline was Nicole Bitchie from boss to broke. So I'm reading these headlines, and they were someone throwing darts. So that took me, it made me spiral into depression, because now I'm damn, I went from everyone knowing me as this poppin' blogger and successful to now they're going to remember me as the girl, the blogger that quit her site and then went broke. And I hated that, because I think about my legacy a lot and how people remember me. So January 2017, last year, I started writing my intentions, and I remember waking up and I wrote down, today I would get a new opportunity. And that's the day that Will Packer, a film producer, he produced the movie Girls Trip that was huge last year, Straight Outta Compton, all these other films, Think Like a Man.
Yeah, legend. He's a legend.
Yeah, he came through my email inbox, I'm looking for Nicole. I haven't seen her in a while. And I remember one of the girls on my staff forwarded, and it was he looking for you, girl. And I was just and I didn't know what to think. And then people started texting me, Will looking for you. And I'm like, what does this man want?
That's wild. Who is this?
Right. So I say all that to say, when I started kind of putting out there to the world what I wanted to happen to me, whether it was a new opportunity, my life started changing. All
right. I hear this a lot from successful people, that kind of same sentiment of, I think and this is my humble opinion, I'm not a very religious or spiritual person, but it's to me, it's kind of the will of the human, right? So and it's the old adage, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, right? Mm-hmm. So it's when your mindset changes, you see opportunities, whereas before your closed-mindedness wouldn't have allowed you to be open enough to accept any of those opportunities. You said something that was interesting to me. You said that I'm gonna run it back in my head.
Think about my legacy a lot.
Yeah, bam. Jesus Christ, that's crazy. That's exactly what you said. So you said you think about your that's insane. But you said you think about your legacy a lot. And to me, and we're just having a conversation here, but that's dangerous in my opinion. Because like to me, that's what added to a lot of the turmoil in my life previously in the career that I was in, right? About my legacy. Like I thought a lot about it and a lot about why I think about my legacy. And the reason why I did personally was it was attached to a lot of this fickle self-worth. Like I wanted people to see me as this and I wanted people to see me as that. And it's a little different in sports than it is with your career. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, this is why I decided I don't give a rat's ass what people think about me. I know people say that and it's kind of popular, but I don't fuck what people think about me. But to a certain extent, everybody kind of does. But for the most part, I don't anymore. And the reason why, what changed my perception was I put a lot of thought into the reasons why I gave a shit in the first place. And one of the things I came to the realization of was legacy is literally just what people in the barbershop, and it's analogous to like whatever, like women, you know what I'm saying? But I'm talking about like men in sports. Like it's just like whatever people in the barbershop say about you. Like, oh, Arian Foster was so-and-so, or he was shit, or whatever the case may be. It's like, it's just a whole bunch of niggas you'll never meet opinions of you. And how does that matter, right? So in my worldview, it was like, the only shit that matters to me is like the people who are gonna be in like the first 2 rows of my funeral. Like if you sitting in the way back, you just kind of there, feel me? But like the first 2 rows of the funeral is the place where it's like, as long as those people, when I'm in the box and they're looking at me, they're like, yo, that was a real one. That's all that matters, and that's all that really I'm living for. Like I'm out here taking these risks. I'm out here taking these hits for these people that I care deeply for.
Yeah. I think I have a different perspective. I don't care what people think, but I do care about how I'm remembered. And so I have to make sure.
Isn't that kind of in a sense?
No, because I think I can't control what people who have never met me think about me. But I try to live my life in a way, like when I wake up in the morning, I live my life in a way that I hope to be inspiring to anyone that come in contact with me. Right. Right. And have them think differently no matter what it is. I think about my legacy a lot because, and you know this, but like my parents died at the age of 41 and 42. And so like I left my celebrity gossip site when I was 35. And I remember thinking, you know, if my life was short, like 41, 42, that means I got 7 years left. Am I going to spend my life, you know, worried about what other people are doing, waking up every day, plugging into what everybody else is doing and have an opinion about it? There's no way. Right. So I think more so just knowing, like, just watching my mom pass, and I watching so many people pass and not like really wondering if they lived a full life. Right. A full life that's impactful after they're gone. I think that's the most important.
Right. I mean, and at the end of the day, the only not to get all super Oprah-ish, but like the only person that you really got to answer to is your mirror, and as long as you're happy with the
100%,
dicey road,
I mean, because half the time the people that don't like you, a lot of times they've never met you before, ever at all in your life.
Another thing I figured out was because I went through this like huge like, and in my head it was huge, but like I went through a public thing where I can't say too much because of legal ramifications, but like I went through this public thing where, you know, I was married and I cheated on my wife, and I had this illegitimate child, and it was like all over, like everywhere if you type my name in, you'll probably still find something about it. But what I realized through that whole turmoil was, one, the love that people give you is fickle in the first. It's very fleeting, and the other thing I really realized was like nobody really cares, right? So nobody goes to sleep thinking, yo, Arian Foster's like, man, I can't believe he cheated on his wife. Like, I can't believe that shit. Like, nobody cares like that much. It's just like you're the kind of the topic of the conversation, and people maybe want to have a spicy opinion about you just to impress their social circle, or maybe to make a splash. I mean, that's especially if like you're a celebrity and people know you. That's a lot of it. What it is people want to draw from you in order to gain a name.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's funny because now when I'm in like the hair salon or whatever, and like they're everybody's going in on their opinions of somebody such and such just had a baby and she named her that. I'm like, I do not take part. Someone just someone just emailed me the other day like a link to something. It was just like thoughts. And I'm like, you really think I got a thought for you?
So no thoughts.
I have no, like, I've been on I had to listen to my motivational speech. I don't have any thought about that.
So is your as your pivot kind of transition and you're struggling to get that up off the ground, what was the breaking point where you were like, okay, I'm settled in, I'm enjoying what I do, and there's the future in this?
Well, it definitely first happened when Will came along. Shout out to Will Packer. He came along and he offered me. So going back to that story, let's bounce back to that story. So Will's looking for me, and I ended up talking to him, and he had an opportunity, like a job opportunity. I told you, right. I had to sell no resume. Like, he came looking for me. And I was thinking in my head, like, again, I was halfway out of the fetal position. Like, I had started thinking positive, but I wasn't all the way there.
Right.
So
it's like almost you're convincing yourself.
Yeah, so I felt like he got the wrong person. Like, you know, like I didn't have confidence that I could do the job he was, kind of offering me, which was, to run another brand that was similar to what my site does. But I told him, I could give him the names of like 5 people. I can recommend like 5 people.
Wow.
And he just kept coming back each month. And I'm like, you know what? I just started a fitness journey. I don't even know if I want to be in the entertainment industry anymore. So at this point, like every month I got an excuse for him. Because I wasn't confident. And it wasn't until 5 months had went past. By this time it's May or April. And I was in LA cleaning out a storage. And I started riding back to Arizona. I was 2 hours in my trip. And his assistant texted me like, Will's in LA, can you sit down with him and talk? And I was like, girl, I'm on my way back to Arizona. And God, because I am spiritual, something, if y'all don't believe in God, the universe, whatever, was like, if you don't turn this car around, you're going to miss your blessing. And I was like, you ain't got to tell me twice, like, because these checks is slowing up. So I went, put on a dress, and so I looked like I'm ready for an interview. And I met him, and he told me about his vision for like what he wanted to launch. And
did he explain the reason for his consistent?
He just saw like he saw my new brand. He loved the new brand. He worked with me a little bit. I used to go on like theater runs with his cast. He would call me. We didn't know each other like that, but he would call like, yeah, my cast is going to these theater runs. Think like a man cast. Can you meet him out there and do whatever? So I used to do that when I was Nicole Bitchie. But yeah, long story short, I told him I was interested. I had a few more rounds of interviews, and then he called me. I was getting myself ready to move to New York, and he called me, and he told me he changed his. He was like, he changed his mind. I'm like, don't play on my feelings like this. And then he said, we decided instead to invest the money. We were gonna invest in this new site into your site. Oof. And I went from like, don't play with me, to like, before he finished the sentence, I was like crying my eyes out. Yeah. And they're on the phone like,
hello.
They're like, is this good? Like, what's happening over there? And I was just like I couldn't believe it. I didn't get out of bed for 3 days because I just could not believe it. I couldn't believe it. I was just like,
that's insane.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it took about 4 months of negotiations. But like, yeah, in September of last year, it hasn't been a year yet, he acquired my website. And so that happened first. People used to always say when they would see me out on the street, like, I used to love your website, or why didn't you keep it, or whatever. So every time someone would say that to me and not mention my new site, I would feel like I was failing. Like, damn, I'm not making an impact. Negative and gossip, that'll make an impact quick. But it's funny because I just came back from Essence Fest this last weekend. And even prior to Essence Fest, now when people see me, they like reach out and touch me and say, I'm so proud of you.
Wow.
Like, I love your brand so much more than your old one. Every single person I've ran into at Essence Fest said, I love your new brand way more than your old one. And I'm so proud of you. And it's just so inspiring.
That's got to be gratifying.
Yeah, but it took, and I want to tell anybody that's going through a transition, it might take a full 3 years. It took almost 3 years to hear that. So I had to keep pushing through year 1, year 2, year 3, and knowing that I had a greater vision and people would get it eventually.
I think a big is like trying to find synergies within successful stories. One of them is like you were willing to die on that hill. Like it was like I'm making this pivot, and like whatever happens, and like you going broke, yada yada yada. You were just like, it is what it is. Like I'm just gonna go this way. I'm walking this way, and like when you put all your, and I try not to advocate that to kids, like putting all your eggs in one. I used to though. I used to though. Like when I was like young and ambitious, I was like, go for what you love.
Right, quit
like,
your job today.
Yeah, get
go
out
for your
there.
passion.
Yeah, and then now it's such an irresponsible thing to say to a kid, man. It really is. And for people that don't understand it, because people just like, no, it's great advice. I'm like, dog, I promise you, it's not, because you're talking to the majority who aren't outliers.
Right.
The outliers are gonna find their ways with or without your advice. So always talk like you're talking to the majority. Side note, but anyway, but that's a lot of the same of what I see in a lot of these successful people is they're just like, I'm going this way, like I'm going, and I'm gonna make something happen. It's kind of like what I went through with my situation was like, I went undrafted, and I got an opportunity to, it's like a workout with Houston Texans, and like I packed all my shit up from my mother's house, and I told her, I was like, I'm not coming back home. Like whatever happens, like I'm staying out here in this world, and I'm gonna make my way. And it was like a powerful moment for me in my life. Like,
wow.
And we always share that moment with a lot of the people I love, and now the people that I love that follow me with this podcast. I don't think I've ever told that story actually.
Like straight out of college, you were undrafted.
Mm-hmm.
And then you went to Houston, and then you became a superstar.
Subjectively, sure, man. So, I mean, I accomplished a lot of what the accolades of a professional athlete who's tops in his field. Yeah, I accomplished a lot of those goals. Superstar, subjective. What really made me realize like how much I loved being retired was. I went on the Joe Rogan podcast, and I didn't know how fucking huge that was. That shit is so big, and so I didn't take advantage of that like I should have. But I mean, you live and learn. Hopefully, I get back on. But because he has such a big following, and they're really loyal to him. But when I went on there and I came off, I gained like thousands and thousands of followers, thousands and thousands of fans sent me things saying like, I love your perspective. I had never watched football before. I was like, Jesus Christ, there's so many people out here that don't give a fuck about sports. Right. Yeah. and I never, I mean, I was 30 years old that retired, and I was like, God, I was real cynical of the world, and I still am to a certain extent, but it was like, it gave me a little hope for humanity to know like not that many people watch football.
I mean, I don't even think that like me venturing in the fitness world and doing competitions, and I have this like second Instagram account where I follow all these competitors, etc. And I'm like, these people don't care like who's dating who. Like, they so far into their like they're
you got a burner account?
Yeah, I do. I do. And it made me realize like, it's just like you said, there's people that just don't care about the entertainment industry or celebrities or like you said, sports.
Right. And that shit is comforting because then it's like we said in the middle of this, like when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So it's like you pivot in your life and you find this pocket of people who are thoughtful, who love to to exude positivity, who love to indulge in a lot of the same things that you do. And because I was just, I don't know what it was, man, but I was just so blinded by the stardom, like because you get caught. I got caught in this little fishbowl. Like I didn't like. I hated taking pictures. I hated autographs. So I just stayed out of the public. I didn't try to expand my views at all, like I should have. I was pretty well diversed in my interests, but there was just so much more I could have done. But I'm happy. I'm happy the way it played out. It did. But you just find so many more people who think like you.
Yeah, I was definitely in a bubble as Nicole Bitchie, definitely. Because if I went to an event, like I would have a line of people lined up. You either have like, managers that are pitching their clients, or you have people like. It's crazy how big I became and didn't know, because I'm working from a computer. I don't have to go out on the field every day.
Right.
So the site's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but I'm in my behind my computer, not even realizing how big everything is getting.
Right.
So yeah.
That's an interesting aspect of it too, though, is that you're starting to gain this notoriety and this stardom from gossip, but it's like a circle of celebrities, though. Like, so you're to make honest, genuine friends in that industry. Like, how was that experience?
You don't make honest, generous friends. Let me tell you. You definitely don't make honest. Like, everybody wants to be your friend and have your number or whatever because they want to be on the site in some type of way. Half the stuff you put on a website, like, it's PR. Someone say, who can I have my client walk out with and say they're dating? A lot of it's so fake. And I didn't want to be a part of that either. But
so a lot of these stories that come out are calculated?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I probably could have guessed that, but it's not. It's just not comforting to hear.
Yeah, definitely. So
a lot of these trending topics, a lot of these things that go on, it's like it's orchestrated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Damn, man. I mean, it's reaffirmation for the shit.
Man, let me tell you that. Like the Kardashians, they're the family of that. But yeah, I mean, it's entertainment at the end of the day. I just didn't want to play the game.
Do you think there's any remedy for our asphyxiation for entertainment?
Live a good life. Because now that I live a great life, I don't care what anyone is doing. But I think when you're you go to your job every day and you hate your job, you hate your coworkers, you go home and you almost hate your boyfriend or and then you might got these kids or whatever. You're wondering, well, what would have happened if people are living lives that they're not happy with. And so they're so fixated on what celebrities are doing. Because it makes, especially the negative stuff, because it makes them feel like a little bit better about their situation.
Right. That's the tough part, in my opinion, about the entire blogosphere is it's
full of a lot of unhappy people.
But yeah, it's consumers though are full of people who are just trying to escape their problems.
Yeah.
And that's a cyclical issue. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, it's crazy because when we had Nicole Bitchie, we would try to embed all this it's like, all right, we're gonna give them junk food, but we're gonna try to put vitamins, hide the vitamins in it.
So that was something that you actively tried to.
Yeah, definitely, especially when I started seeing how big the following was, and then I started being a little guilty. Like, these women are logging in every day, multiple times a day at their job. It's an escape for them, but what am I feeding them?
Right.
And that was weighing on my spirit at night. So yeah, it started from there. But yeah, my life has changed so much. Like, I was, when I started, broke and hanging out with negative people, and I was being negative. So it was a reflection of me. But once I started really living a life I loved, it no longer served me.
What was the turning point in your life where you knew it was there like a breaking point where it was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm done.
I mean, for like the last 2 years, I would like dream of like moving to an island and living this simple life and serving ice cream or something like.
Surfing ice cream.
Right, and it's so crazy I would say that because I think there was an article that came out in one of those big newspapers, and this person that lived in New York had a 6-figure job, and they just were fed up of the grind, and they moved to an island and started like,
Right.
making $10 an hour,
Right.
but happy.
Right.
But yeah, that's how I felt. Like I just started fantasizing all the time about a different life for myself, and I think that's the first. That's the first sign. Like whether you're in a relationship and you're daydreaming about being out of that relationship, or like you're at a job and you're daydreaming about being and doing something else. So yeah, I was just thinking about doing something else, and I just hated waking up. I hated waking up and just having to figure out what happened while I was asleep. And it was just so many different things. Like it's funny because Beyonce just released. I think her and Jay-Z just released an album like recently.
True.
I haven't heard it, and people were like, "What? You ever heard Beyonce?" And I was like, "She's like wreaked havoc on my life so much." Like I remember,
unbeknownst to her.
Yeah, I remember being on a blind date, and she had her baby, Blue Ivy, and I had to run out of there. Or I was at a holiday party, and she released her first like secret album. And had to run out of there, to go home and figure out how we're going to write about it. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm trying to live my life out here.
Damn. We're going to have the beehive all in my comments.
I know, right? Buzzing. But yeah, I love her as a person. And it's great that she's so big and huge that people are like, why haven't you wrote about this yet? What are you doing with your life? Right. But I it's so refreshing to wake up every day and not have to figure out what everybody is doing.
No, it's directly analogous to the shit that I went through, which is like, I don't watch football like that anymore. Right. Like it's then people are like, you don't watch it? Like it literally was my life since I was 7 years old. I knew I could name stats from a running back that like a second string running back. Like I was a student and I loved it, and I consumed it. And when I was done with it, I was like, I just don't want to have anything to do with this. Like, I don't care who wins it. And that was kind of like a breaking point in my life too, where I was on the sidelines of a game. We were playing the Browns, and I played for Miami, and I was on the sidelines, and I was just like, I don't care who wins. I couldn't care less. This will not bother me in one bit either way. And I was like, that's when I knew it's time to walk away. And I did something a little bit unorthodox, is I walked away in the middle of a season. Like most people wait till the end of the season to retire. Yeah. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Wow. Because it's different as far as like, if I played basketball, I probably would have finished the season now, or baseball. But in football, if your heart isn't in it, like I can injure myself, like badly. Definitely. Like I could break something. Like there's no telling. So it's like I just didn't want to. If my heart wasn't in it and I wasn't giving my all, trying to put a ball over a line, like. I would have stuck it out, but
so you just called them up like, you know what, not coming back next game.
No, I did it. I did it with as much respect as possible, because the people in Miami, they treated me so well. I loved them. The coach Adam Gase and even the owner of the team, they always treated me with respect, because they respected the fact that what I brought to the team. And so like I called him. And I told him how I was feeling, and I was like, I just don't feel like I could do this anymore. He said, come in, talk to me. So I came in, I let him know. And he was like, take 3 days off, take 2 days off, and come back in. And if you still feel like this, we'll take those steps. So I did. I took those 2 days, and I just went and had breakfast by this little bay that they had both days. Enjoyed. I read books, and I was like, yeah, I can't. I'm not gonna wake up and try to be tackled.
Did you ever think about like what happens after I leave the field?
Not in that moment. No. In that moment, I was just like, I would much rather read this book. Because in the middle of the time I was reading a Brian Greene book, and it was about physics. And I was in the middle of this book, and I was like, this is I am excited about this, and I am dreading going to practice. Like I do not want to do it. And it was a different from like nobody wants to. I mean, there's aspects of your dream that you don't want to do, like practice and working out, things like that. But this was different. This was like, and I knew the difference. I felt the difference. It wasn't like, oh, I don't feel like practicing, but I know it's better. It was like, I don't feel like going to practice because I don't give a shit who wins the game. I don't care about the season. I don't care about my legacy. Like none of this shit matters to me right now. The most important thing that matters to me right now is finishing this book. And I did.
Oh,
it was
wow.
a great book.
Wow.
Happy about the book.
Then you finish the book, then what happens? The book is finished.
Book is finished, and it really got me into, well, I was already into science, but it really got me into science and wanting to know the inner workings of the physical world and physics. And so it got me into reading a little bit more books, a little bit more background on the historicity of science and how we got to the point where we have all this technology. And it's a beautiful journey. The journey of science in our culture is one of the most beautiful stories ever told. And I know there's a lot of he said, she said, and where it actually came from. But the stories that I've read and I've taken in, it is a beautiful story about how we've come to the technological age that we're in right now. And I fell in love with that. And so I just had a new goal. Like I can explain to you like the general theory of relativity. It's Einstein's equations. I can explain to you what it is, but I couldn't explain to you like from a mathematical standpoint about what it is. I understand the basics of math, but in order to actually understand how this stuff works, I need to be educated from an institution, or at least educated from a math standpoint, and I'm not. And so I started to take, I'm starting right now, I'm in the middle of taking algebra classes.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm going back to school for that. I also wanted to dive into politics. Like I've always been, kind of aware of what's going on in the world. But like I'm now really beginning to become like what I view as a responsible citizen, and understanding the political issues on a deeper level, to where I can hold a conversation with thought leaders that are having these conversations in public forum. I also wanted to dive into deeper to why I think the way I think. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of how we think as humans is kind of social programming. And I wanted to dig into that and make sure, to the best of my ability, that the things that I think isn't flooded with bias. Right. And so like I vetted a lot of my ideas. It's kind of like a rebranding of myself. We have a lot of the same, a lot of lives parallel, but like I rebranded my thoughts. And so that put me at a lot of ease. But like in the same breath, like doing all of this kind of created like this inner turmoil as well. But I think that was just like a snake shedding its skin. But so all of that to say that I found myself after my career, which is weird. Because I mean, usually people find themselves and then their career comes. It's like my career came because I was really talented and I worked my ass off. But then I left that feeling empty. I left football feeling empty, like it didn't fulfill me, which is can be heartbreaking for some, and it is. You see a lot of guys that leave the NFL or their sport and they don't know what to do and where to go. And a lot of guys are suicidal. You go into deep depression.
Yeah.
Like it's a real thing. And so I was thankful in the fact that I had an outlet, like this podcast. Like it's like I'm a humble cat, but I know like I kind of have the gift of gab, where I can sit and I can talk to you. I can talk to scientists. I can talk to anybody and speak their language, and we have a really good conversation.
Right.
And part of that is what I also wanted to do, was have these conversations, draw from everybody who I find inspiring or not inspiring, and have people be able to feed from those conversations. So that was another thing I wanted to do, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to have those abilities where people find it interesting at all, and it's growing. So like all that, just long-winded, but like all of that just to say, like I found my niche as a 30-year-old man.
It's funny because after I left my gossip blog, I didn't know who I was. And it's funny because you say a lot of people are suicidal because if you take a title from them or the money they make or cars or clothes or whatever it is, like they don't know who they are anymore.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, how long has it been since you retired?
I retired in 2016, so it'll be 2 years, like in October.
Oh yeah, so you're fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fresh off the plantation.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, man. No, it's a good time to be alive too, man. Like I couldn't imagine being like the generation before us. Like we live in this world where like if you want to get something done, like you literally can, and you can learn about anything like this.
Definitely. I mean, I can't really imagine being a generation after me right now because we're, like you said, so consumed with social media and what other people are doing, and
Right.
I'm just like I know that affects dating. It affects everything.
Yeah, I mean that aspect of it. Let's dig into that a little bit because I think it's actually a positive thing. That aspect of it. I'll tell you why.
For guys, it's always positive.
Well, I mean,
Especially this social media.
Yeah.
They have to work less.
Well, I think that's not accurate. Actually, I think
I
that's
feel like
not
we're
accurate.
in the generation of lazy dating.
Yes and no.
The era of lazy dating.
I think you could call it lazy, but I think what it is social media is kind of peeling back layers of a lot of the PC culture. It's peeling back layers of who people really are. So what's happening is you can sift through what you do and don't like about people at a faster rate than you normally would.
Yeah, I think so. I think my problem with social media is you can romanticize someone. I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for before you meet them. So they could be, they're completely different on
Right.
social media. You're falling in love with what you're seeing, which is a highlight reel.
That's true.
And then you meet them in person and
Don't
you're
put
just
the highlight reel up on the.
and you're like, and you realize a lot of stuff was fake or,
But I mean, you can say that about pre social media age too. Like a lot of people, the way that people present themselves is not as genuine. I mean, think about how people dress now as compared to when it was our age was the day, right? It was a lot more proper. Like the proper dress right now. Like I go to business meetings now. Like even 6 years ago, I used to go to business meetings and it was like blazers and button-ups and ties, and like now it's like people walk in with flip-flops and white tees and jeans, and like a lot of people's social constraints are being relaxed.
Yeah, and what I don't like about dating in this day and age is everyone puts so much on social media, especially through Insta stories, etc., that it takes the mystery away. So you can date someone and they don't even tell you how their day was because they just assumed you watched it.
Ugh. Ugh. Well, I'm glad I'm in a relationship. I don't deal with that.
Yeah,
part.
exactly. Anybody that's in a relationship, just be good. But yeah, I know I have a friend and she might watch this and see this and know I'm talking about her, but she would hit me up all the time like, did you see my Insta story? And I'm like, girl, you got something to tell me.
That's
tell
insane.
me.
That's
like,
insane. That is too much.
And I just kept telling her like, girl, why don't you tell me? Or like send me the picture,
Right.
Just instead of assuming I'm going to, because I wasn't watching them.
That's true though. There's definitely an aspect of society now that I loathe, and that it's that social media I guess behavior. Like there's social norms on social media now, like commenting and liking and whose pics you liking and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
And that's why there's like that section of Instagram where it's like it shows you what the people you're following.
Oh,
are
I
doing.
never go in there.
I will never ever.
I never go in
never
there.
look at that goddamn thing. That's the nosiest shit.
Oh Lord, I don't go in there ever. I didn't even know it existed until like I probably accidentally clicked
Right.
on it. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's
what is this?
So nosy, so goddamn nosy, man.
Yeah, because people would talk to me and say, yeah, I saw him liking this person. And I'm like,
Yeah.
how do you know?
Exactly. Same thing. I was like, what? I said, so y'all stalking people and seeing what they're doing?
Right.
That's
Nah.
gross, man. That's
Yeah.
gross. But I that is an aspect of dating that I don't like, or whatever the case may be. because it's just so intrusive. It's very intrusive, and it's that aspect of social interaction is lacking deeply, I think, in this generation. And but I don't see that going anywhere either, though, because technology is so interwoven with everything that we do. Like, I don't see a remedy for that.
I mean, I think we posted a tweet from me on my xoNecole account, and it said something about, like, you know, I'm a girl that likes to go out on dates, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And women were in an uproar, and I'm like, girl, you don't require. But for me, it's not men taking me out on $200 dates and spending money. It's about.
I remember that was a topic of conversation. That was a topic on Twitter. That was a topic of conversation.
Yeah, when you say you like to go on dates, people automatically assume you're a gold digger or something. But for me, it's a guy actually saying, I want to get to know her, and being thoughtful and trying to figure out where can he take me, whether it's a park or wherever, and get intimate time to peel back my layers versus, you know, whatever he sees on social media. So that's what I meant by date. I appreciate those intimate moments with someone when you're not looking at your phone and you're getting to know each other.
So are you a proponent of chivalry being a facet of chivalry being that a man should pay?
If I pay, we ain't go on a date.
What is
this ain't no date.
What is it?
It's a gathering, and I showed up.
Yes. So you think that the man should pay?
Of course, but I'm always I mean, look, I'm about to turn. Like, a lot of people don't know this. Maybe I look young or whatever. Like, people, but I'm about to turn 38 in September.
Yeah, I don't. So, yeah, that's surprising.
So, like, that's closer to 40 than it is 30.
Right.
I'm
taking algebra now. I figured out.
I'm in a place in my life where, first of all, I'm not looking for a seat filler. What I mean by seat filler, you not go sit in that seat and take up space and time that someone else can have. Because if you're sitting in that seat, guess what? Next man gonna walk past because he think I'm taking. So if you're not ready,
you got time to waste.
No time to waste. So if you're not ready for, like, what I have to offer, what I bring to the table, like a woman like me, and I say that because I keep dating guys where it's like, I'm not ready for a woman like you yet, but I want to be your friend. Taking up my time. So
explain the correlation between a man being ready for a woman like you and a man saying, no, like, maybe you should pay for your own stuff on a date.
I mean, why would the type of man I want to attract?
That's what I'm saying. So what is it about this phantom man that is a requirement for him to pay for the date?
I mean, especially if it's the first date and he's asked me out on a date, I think it's the right, respectful thing to do.
So you think it's a respect thing? Yeah,
especially if you ask me out on a date. First of all, my time is money.
Time is money.
And I hate saying this because I know my worth. And it's almost like people asking you, can they sit down with you for coffee and pick your brain? Because they want to know how to, like, start a business or whatever.
Right.
You know,
they gotta pay for the coffee.
Like, I pay for the coffee, but you're basically asking me to consult you for the price of coffee versus a consulting fee. So
now that I agree with. I agree with that. 100%. Makes sense. That makes sense.
I think about it. I gotta leave my house, get in an Uber, take a train to come meet you and give you advice. Right. It's not an equal exchange.
Is this subliminal? Do I have to pay you after this?
No.
But I got
You're so crazy. But I say all that to say I'm using it as an analogy of, like, dating and me being a woman who I know, like, if I take the time out to sit down with you on a date because you've asked me out and you are interested, that's time I could have used to build my brand. I'm still building my brand, and
that's dangerous, though.
It's not, but
what you're saying.
What I'm saying is, don't waste my time.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
But it's actually more than that. You're saying don't waste my time, but you're also saying, because I'm taking time away from what I'm doing, I'm actually losing money. So
100%.
So you need to
You need to make this date worthwhile. And it's not, again, if you don't have money don't take me out to because first of all, I ordered dessert. It humble and let you know. Like, I love my dessert. So do not take me to a restaurant because I'm in hope that I don't go to the the sex side of the menu. That's gonna happen.
Well, he need to catch you like mid diet. Then he need to.
Yeah. So look, guys, it's not that serious. You don't have to take me on a date where we're eating. I like frozen yogurt. That's only like $5. I like going to the park.
Right.
But I think guys overcomplicate things, and I want to impress this person, so I'm gonna take them to this 5-star.
So what if he met all of the requirements that you look for in a man, but he was like, he's like, let's split the check.
I would feel like he doesn't respect me if you can't pay the bill.
Nicole. That is crazy.
If you ask me out on a date and you take me somewhere and you cannot cover the bill, you have no business asking me out on a date. Like, you know how people are like serious.
That's so spicy.
It is, because I'm not trying to cause a debate. Now you're going to have crazy comments and they're going to come find me on Instagram.
The internet is going to be that anyway.
Yeah, it is. But I'm saying all that to say, because I know a lot of men are like, I'm in between jobs, or, there are stages in my life where I was like, I just can't even afford to date right now.
Right.
Like, I got to get my shit together before I.
So you're looking at it macrocosmically, saying if you won't pay for the meal that you asked me out of my time to come and meet with you with, one, it sends a signal to me saying you don't have your stuff together, and you don't respect the time that I'm giving to you. Am I hitting the nail on the head? I'm just trying to get an understanding, because you're not alone in this camp. So this is an ever raging debate.
Yeah.
Right. So you have a lot of women in your camp, and you have a lot of women not in your camp, and I'm just trying to dig into the woman's psyche. Right.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, it's nothing worse than going out on a date and just don't ask me out on a date if you can't cover the bill. Because if you're gonna ask a woman out on a date, and you want to make sure she has a good time too, because this is, if I leave my house, and it's a struggle in New York. Like, I don't think I would think so much the way I do if I didn't live in New York, because in New York, like, it takes time to leave. Like, it's a production to leave the house sometimes.
So just
I done got catcalled to the subway. I want to have a good time. I want to have a good time when I get on this.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
So just for the record, though, you're saying,
Lord, here we go. I feel like we done opened up a can of worms.
Definitely. For the record, just saying, if a man meets he's the most amazing man. He's your black Superman or white Superman, if that's what you're into.
If he's all that, he's not going to make me pick up the bill. Period. Period. Exclamation point.
Yeah, that's spicy, man.
I mean, it's the truth. I mean, I'm just.
I'm of the camp that, like, if I take a woman out on a date, like, I'll pay. Like,
wouldn't it feel weird to ask her to pay?
What would be dope?
Here we go.
I'll tell you what would be dope.
What?
If I take a woman out on a date, it'd be some super, like, now that's attractive. Because I'm in a monogamous relationship right now, and I took my girl out on a date, and everything went well. Happily got a kid. We're moving. But I'm just saying, what would be dope, just to play devil's advocate, would be like, what if a man takes you out on a date, and then you were like, don't worry, I got it, because you had such a good time. You know what? I
used to be that. I will say I used to be that woman when men would take me out on a date. I would grab from my wallet to pay half, and I stopped doing that. I'm
talking about the whole. Like, if you was feeling them so much.
You know why I stopped doing that?
Why you stopped doing that?
I felt like it would emasculate men. Like, they felt a way about it.
Really?
Yeah. See, you and that new generation of millennials.
I'm not.
Y'all trying to, like, have your bills paid.
I'm 31, man. I'm pretty. I ain't that young. I'm not old. I'm not young.
But you still that millennial crowd. Y'all want y'all bills paid, your feet rubbed, all that first date.
I mean, I wouldn't mind the feet being rubbed, but I'm saying, I just think it would be like a real like bossy move, and it would be like
every man I've ever touched, and sometimes I used to do it just to see what their reaction would be, and they would just be like, "Don't do that."
Right.
Like I don't.
Which was probably.
I was like, okay.
It's like a little okay.
Yeah.
I see you. I see you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, that's dope, man. I mean, I just like to. That's a hell of a tangent, but like
little stuff. And you know what? I lived in Arizona, and the guys out there, I did a lot of dates. So after I left, because I couldn't really date when I was a celebrity gossip blogger.
Right.
So I moved to Arizona. Nobody know who I am.
Right.
I get on Tinder at the time. That was like 3 years ago.
Oof.
Yeah. And y'all, like the athletes, everybody was out in Arizona on the off season.
Yeah. It was thick. It was thick in Arizona.
Yeah. I got some stories, but yeah, I did a lot of I did more dating out there than like in my life. Like I was on them dates,
right?
And like
Tinder will do that. I was actually never on Tinder.
Really?
I know some of the homies though.
Yeah,
they have. It's a fun website.
Yeah. I mean I don't do it because it's like it's trash now, like in terms of the quality. But yeah, the men out there took me out on dates and you know, they would pick you up and open your car door. And so they set the bar for me. I come back to New York and I'm like, y'all want to Netflix and chill? Like, what? Y'all want to pre-date before you date? Like, I don't know anything about this. Like,
that's real.
But it's because I've had experienced, you know, men who wanted to take me on dates.
So what was your hiatus like as far as like you said you couldn't date in while you were a celebrity gossip columnist? I mean, how long was the hiatus?
I started xoNecole, but it was a little bit more low key,
right?
You know, and it was women driven,
right?
So I could walk around freely in Arizona, and I could walk around Arizona, and nobody knew what a Nicole Bitchie was,
right?
Because they just like the West Coast. I don't feel like is like as plugged in, like into like.
I mean, this is a metropolis. New York's a metropolis.
Yeah, like they're not as. It's crazy because they're not as plugged in politics or any of that stuff. Live tweeting shows, they don't do all that.
Right,
like they're barely. So yeah, that was interesting being able to walk around and meet people who just knew me as Nikki, not Nicole Bitchie, and they genuinely hang out and want nothing from me.
Right.
You know, or they see me out and we exchange numbers and we're hanging. So yeah, that's what that was like, dating. And
I mean, so how much did this the scene of or just the aspect of you not really not being able to date just because you didn't want the drama of it.
I remember some guy, like, we was almost in an intimate moment. He made a joke about, do I have to like have you sign a confidentiality agreement? Ooh. Right.
Yeah. But that's a real thing though.
You get dry real quick.
I've had I've had some friends who are actors, and they'll tell me that, like, because I got dealing with like the women I've dealt with, like from a sport, they see me as a sports figure, so I've only dealt with that aspect of life, right? So I had to deal with like you're a hoe, which I was, but like, so hearing like some of my actor friends, like they'll tell me like, yeah, like, so like they'll get intimate with a woman, and the woman will tell him, well, how much of this is the real you? Like, it's a deep question though.
Yeah, it is.
That you have to juggle, and so like that's part of your experience where you had to juggle. Is like if you're dating me, is it like, or is this gonna be on a blog? Like,
yeah, definitely, definitely. Then you got the people that you date, and I've had this happen too. That put you on blast on Twitter
for a story, or
just to say they've been like intimate with you. So yeah,
that's insane. I couldn't imagine. Well, actually, it happened to me, but
yeah. So that date, that 2005, like, I mean, 2015, and dating and stuff. It was fun times. Like, I was like, this is how regular people live. Right. Like, I love it.
Right. I mean, so the serenity that you feel now, like, you know, I follow you now after we had our first interaction, and you're like flourishing. You have your fitness competitions that you're doing now. How much is that feeding the ethos of Nicole?
It's funny because you mentioned earlier, like, what were you going to do with your time when you retired?
Right.
And my website doesn't take as much time. Not like I work hard,
right?
But when you're a celebrity gossip blogger, it's nonstop,
right?
But this site that I have now allows me, and I have a staff and team
Right.
to have time.
Right.
And so the fitness competition is a way to fill up my time a little bit so that I don't like, get sucked into like crazy thoughts or whatever. I'm constantly training for another competition, and I like to compare it to like you guys. I always say I'm going to end up dating an athlete or like someone in fitness or something, because like now, like I have a higher respect for like the dedication and getting up every morning and going out there and training.
It's different, man.
Yeah, it's a whole like.
It's why my weight is fluctuating now because
You don't get
I've
up
done
and-
it for so long that like I despise the weight room. I despise running. Like I hate it with a passion because it's just one of those things where it's like it was my life for my life. Like,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It wasn't, I couldn't go get a casual workout in. I was in there for 2.5 hours.
Yep.
And I was beating my body and my mind down. And like now I don't have to do it. But I mean, I do in a sense because it regulates blood flow, and if
Right.
once you're dormant for like 3 months, which I've done that before, I haven't done shit for 3 months, and then all of a sudden it's like you start to feel foggy headed, the thoughts get scattered, and you start to feel ill effects. Like I feel like sometimes it's hard to breathe, like stuff like that. I think that was part of the anxiety too. Is like I hadn't worked out in a while.
Wow.
So it's just really hard for me to find the motivation. But kind of like you, man. What I decided was. And I did this when I played football. I wrote my goals down every year, and I stopped doing that when I retired. And so I just did it this last month. It was like I wrote everything that I want to accomplish this year, and in the near future. And it helps organize your thoughts and get it on paper. My dad actually, I'll share this little tidbit, this little jewel with people, man. My dad told me this when I was young, and I think it was a big part of the success that I had was. He said, "Son, write your goals down and put it in a place where you where you're gonna see it every single day." And he said, one or two things is gonna happen. He said, one, you're gonna eventually start to hit some of those goals, or two, you're gonna tear it down because you're tired of seeing it. I was like, ooh, that's deep.
Yeah, definitely.
And I did it, and I've never not had it. I mean, when I was when I was going into the NFL, I had wrote my goals down, and I was undrafted as we talked about. One of the goals were to lead the NFL in rushing as a running back. That's like getting the most yards. I don't know how much you know about football, but it's to get the most yards as a running back. For an undrafted guy, that's such a lofty goal.
Right.
It's like, come on, fam. And this is the funny part is, Humble is, we share our business manager. Humble, who's also my best friend, I shared my goals with him this season before, and he was like, I feel you, man. That's a great goal to set. He was like, let's be realistic. And I was like, damn, homie, you gonna crush my dream like that? That's crazy. And then when I hit him, he was the first one to say I was wrong.
Wow.
That's part of one of the reasons why I love him is like
Yeah.
he treated me no different from when I was undrafted to when I was a Pro Bowler.
Right.
Like he treated me no different. But I set lofty goals and I put them up on the what I put them up is on my mirror when I brush my teeth every day, and I look at them, and it helps, man. It helps.
It helps a lot.
And, and I think a big thing is like not beating yourself up if you're not because discipline is not an easy thing to do, and so a lot of people beat themselves up and they don't allow for any room to be human. Like you're gonna be a human, man. Like if you're on a diet, like you're gonna take a bite of cake every now and then, but just refocus yourself and get after it, man.
Yeah, I feel like it's just creating a roadmap. I hit up Humble last month, and or Brandon that works with Humble, and because I'm dealing with some other stuff, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna triple my income next month, so don't worry about it, right? And I had wrote that down like over and over. I'm tripling my income. I tripled my income like for that month. So
Shout out to
it's
you.
like it definitely speaking things into existence, writing down your goals. Helps a lot.
Man,
Gives you a reason to wake up every day.
this is the most inspiring podcast I've been in. I'm inspired.
Oh, see
sure.
what that redo do?
The redo. Yeah, no, I'm glad we got a chance to do this again, man, because I was so pissed that I didn't press record, but we got all 3 lights. We are moving, man.
I don't even remember him having all these cameras the last time I came
the lights
here.
weren't on. Yeah, man, but that's funny, man. But no, Nicole, I appreciate you again, like taking time out of your day.
Y'all don't beat me up so too bad about the like, the dating thing. Like, you gotta understand, I'm a 38-year-old woman. Like, you know, I'm past the stage of playing games. I'm just trying to.
I'm with you.
Look, I've worked hard to become the love I'm trying to attract, and so like it that I'm just looking for someone to compliment all this hard work that I've put into like becoming who I have become.
I agree. So that means you got to pay for the dinner. But,
nope. No, ma'am.
No, I'm with you,
No,
man.
sir.
But no, I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, like you're an inspiration. I follow you, and I think you're what a lot of people in this country should be. Like, we all have things that we're doing that may pay the bills, but at the end of the day, it doesn't fulfill you as a human being. And you pivoted in the middle of your life, in the height of your success, and said, I'm going that away, and you made it work.
Yeah.
And so
definitely.
shout out to you, and shout out to everybody who believed in you and your team, because it's a special thing, man. Celebrate that, man. Celebrate that.
Yeah.
So at the end of every podcast, I mean, you've been on.
Oh gosh, here we go.
Yeah, so
The
at the end of every podcast, man, we're trying to get my man Jim Carrey on. So if you could be so kind as to lobby for your dog. So.
You know what, Jim Carrey? I saw a very inspiring graduation speech you did recently. But I need you to come on this podcast and talk to Arian about why it's important for men to pay on the first date. You know, I know you're like over 40, so you got all that grown man stage. You need to have a conversation with him about why men should pay on the first date.
I appreciate that. I don't think he's gonna agree with you though. No doubt.
It's called courting.
Courting. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what Jim. That might be the first question I asked Jim. Say, what do you think, man? Should men pay? You know what I mean? The anticlimactic. But no, I appreciate you, Nicole. And if anybody wants to find you, your website, where can they find you?
And then I'm Hello Nicole on Instagram, HelloNecole. And across the board on Twitter, etc. And then my website is xoNecole.com, which is a website for women inspiring. We're inspiring one woman at a time. And then I have a website, NecoleKane.com, if people want to know more about me.
Perfect, man. So go check out anybody who hasn't yet, man. This is a great story and just a beautiful human spirit, man. So I suggest y'all do that. So if anybody, if you follow the podcast, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all of that shit, because for whatever reason it matters. Share with your people, man. We're out here trying to inspire too. So much love. I appreciate you coming back on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Sure. You take care.